Hello, and welcome to the QPF podcast. I'm Bobby Lazizi, I am the sound tech, and I'm here with Jen Whitlock and Isabella Jocelyn.
I'm Bella Jocelyn, a bisexual person of faith, and this podcast we will be discussing the intersections between sexuality and faith in the modern age.
Okay. My name is Jen Whitlock. I am a part of the Christian community. Right now we're in the church. And the Christian community usually, through the media, it just seems really exclusive to the LGBT community, but within the, we're in church right now, and, what I hear a lot of when we preach is just, being inclusive, so to hear those values, actually explained from our pastor, I feel like it's going to be really interesting. His name is Pastor Irwin. He is, the leader of our teen, I don't know what to call it, our teen group. When I hear him speak, he's really idealistic. He's a nice guy, but I don't know. I'm sorry, not on the teeth. No, he's really nice, but just to hear his depth as to how what really goes on, because when we're having these conversations, everything is usually sort of broad, but I don't know, to actually hear his perspective and understanding it. He just texted us to make sure that he's calling, so we're gonna call him.
Hello.
Hi, Pastor Irwin. How are you?
Good. Hey, Jen. Pleasure to speak with you.
Nice to speak with you, too. Here, so do you just want to, state your name and your position at church, and then we'll just start with the questions?
Sure. Hi, my name is Pastor Irwin. I am the team director at the Christ Church. I serve at the Montclair campus as well as the Rockaway campus. And I am team director.
Okay, so we're going to be talking with me and Bella today. Bella's a queer person of faith. She identifies as bisexual.
Hi.
Okay. Hi, Bella. Hey, Bella. What's going on?
Nothing much.
So how would you interpret queer faith?
Great. It's important to know that faith is a gift from God. It's the most human thing we can do without even realizing it. When we open up a can of soda, when we open up a bottle of water, we drink it without even thinking, and we don't even stop to think that it could be contaminated. When we cross a bridge, when we enter into a building, we cross the bridge hoping that the bridge is not going to collapse. And we enter into a building, and we don't even stop to think that the building will sustain us. It's the most human thing that we could ever do. So life is a constant series of acts of faith. It's part of being human, right?
No matter. Sorry.
Right, but in another greater sense, faith starts with God. So it needs no adjective. It's a God thing that people get to exercise all the time. But it finds its full meaning when we place it on Jesus. It stands alone as a gift to us to apply in desperate quantities for the purposes of applying to a Savior that supplies us with hope and healing, because in reality, all of us, in one point or another, have brokennesses. We have broken parts of our lives that we need wholeness of. And so the starting point of faith is not based on your attraction or your compulsion or whatever your struggle might be. If you were to say it in those terms, then is there such a thing as hetero faith? So faith is not described in Scripture like this. Faith is described as a gift from God. And so now, before we even go into the next question, I want to make sure that we're clear that my answers are always going to be based upon my greatest authority in my life. And
just going kind of back to the second question about the core Christian beliefs and what you personally think those are. How do you feel your own core Christian beliefs can kind of be demonstrated and taught onto a younger generation, and also how do you feel that core Christian beliefs have evolved over time?
Okay. Well, I want to try to take this. You asked me a couple questions there, so I want to first answer the first question, which is what are Christian core beliefs? I think was the question that was posed. So Christian core beliefs they're just, it's very important that we understand, they're not like company core beliefs, right? They're not like community, committee beliefs. They're not like organizational beliefs that get updated or amended over time.
Got you.
The reason why I say that is because they're based on, now, the term Christian means many things to different people. But when we all agree to base the principles, or rather the core belief, is based off of obviously the authority that we get from Scripture. So they're all based on the birth, the life, ministry, the work on the cross, the death, the burial, the resurrection, the ascension, and the soon return of a real Savior, who is God in the flesh. Now, this is the core of what all of us would say are non-negotiable. I don't know. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. So do you feel as though the exclusion from the LGBT community, or so in history there has been a lot of exclusion from the LGBT community from Christians? And I'm a Christian and I acknowledge this myself. Do you believe that the beliefs that we have align with the exclusion, or do you feel as though that's a flaw within the Christian community that doesn't necessarily that's not something that necessarily should identify with the Christian
That question. So again, the exclusion that they're being excluded from one church. I don't want to that is unfortunately, there are churches that is right. That unfortunately, there are moments where we see these gaps in just kind of and love that churches are and if you're honest, have you ever missed the mark of someone else, regardless of who we are? I think we can always recognize absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, but to your point, it's not new to the 21st century. I want to make sure that you understand that throughout history, this community, LGBTQI, I mean, if you research Greek history, Roman history, you'll see that all the faith in existence before faith it's not because of abortion or this is these communities before, and within that Christianity within. You see what I'm saying? Christianity is making sure that everyone thinks about because in the like image you are created. And so today's nations, have been within the place, speaking specifically about the church organization. And again, we're talking about a Catholic church, we're talking about denomination. There are churches of people. That's the reality, for sure. Now, there's a church today, and they make it seem like there's a place for every not to be part of the church. Now, just because we could that doesn't mean that they're Christian. Just because the church doesn't mean that they're a place for like I think there are a lot of different right?
Yeah.
So the bigger question should be, do you understand that a lot of you want to be a part of the body of Christ? That's a good question. If you
Yeah.
And you're questions, you understand what to be part of the body. Because you want to church, you're not like never literally feel like you're part of the body of Christ. And so my the great question is, do you understand what that means? They're on part, right? And for you to give you guys sure understood what just about there are many parts, but there's one body, right? So that's what body is. Jesus is the head of the body. So the reality is, the bigger place are you the head of the body, where to go, how to live. When putting a story around God, and God only talk about so now, disciples claiming God's way of life, what's the worst thing perhaps you're too much more about trying to disciple of God.
So how do you think the I'm sorry. Culture.
Can I talk to you? Okay, I'm having this discussion. Did you see when we were talking about being a part of the LGBT community, he was like, that's a struggle. Like, no matter, I have struggles, you have struggles, whoever you like that's a struggle. And then, I don't know, I thought that was like a really negative connotation, and I feel like that's just an example of how the Christian community has good intentions. And I feel like I've been on both sides, and I saw a lot of negative connotations, and but I have I'm very I'm Christian, so all I could say is that he was coming from a good place, but it's also just seeing why there has been this barrier between the LGBT community and the Christian community. It's just because of maybe fear, ignorance, and just also not catching stuff or not truly understanding both perspectives, because I did struggles, and when he got really he knew a lot about the disciples and the Ohirians and all this different history behind it, but he was very reluctant to listen to the history as to how they have also been exclusive. And then he talked about the barbaric the way that the Christians were treated and how it was barbaric.
How it's better now, but I'm
how it's
also
and then also just the treatment that you received that was barbaric. Do you think that is almost a reflection and mirroring the treatment that the LGBT community gets from the Christian community, and how can we learn from our history and now be more inclusive?
I just definitely observed that he was I definitely observed that he was really into what he was talking about, and he definitely cared. You can tell he's a passionate person. Yeah. But
his voice changed halfway through the thing, by the way. When I first answered, I was like, who is this? Because I listened to his sermons every other week, and then I was like, this is not him. And then we started getting into it, and I was like, yeah, that's what I'm hearing. A lot of idealistic, oh, I'm not gonna answer your question. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. I don't want to criticize him, because I understand he went to school for this and I didn't. But I definitely observed that. I definitely observed that kind of ping pong way of talking about topics, very much dancing around it. Yeah. But on top of that, I don't know, I grew up around these types of people in the way that they talk about things, and it's not uncommon or out of the norm. He's not an outlier when it comes to how he responded, the words he used.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And he also, I'm just gonna say at a certain point he said, when we talked about career faith, which was one of the first questions, when I asked him about that, it was a good question. When I asked him about that, he was like, yeah, I don't really think there needs to be an adjective next to it. Is there hetero faith? And I'm like, well, there's obviously an adjective for a reason, because it is outside of the norm, I'm doing air quotes, the quote-unquote norm that is typically displayed as very cishet, white Christianity.
Yeah, well, he's not white, but
no, I'm just saying when it comes to the very cookie cutter mold.
Yeah,
and luckily over time the horizons have broadened over when it comes to the racial spectrum. So it's not as
from what he claims the female, and also what he seems to claim is us actually being progressive towards the LGBT community, because I did want to talk about his vocabulary. When I first started to become more understanding of the Christian community, and I started to strengthen my faith, I did get a lot of condescending, do you know your scripture? And I feel I caught that when he was talking to you. He was if you know your scripture, then you'll understand and I feel he's using it, but then I feel a lot of Christians don't really interpret it for what it is, and other people have those values within themselves that you don't necessarily need to memorize, because I feel him knowing the extra I in the LGBTQ community, like LGBT community I, ha ha ha, like the LGBT community I, and then like, yeah, like him thinking that, or I don't know, I think thinking that you can necessarily like reside with people's issues, I am so sorry, like reside with people's experiences and then kind of like think you understand them and then sort of put them off into a box so that they are issues that other people deal with and kind of just like, what's that word? Like push them off to the side, really.
Yeah, and compartmentalize people.
Yeah, I think that within itself is excluding LGBT, like the whole community from ever wanting to be a believer, not a Christian, because a Christian has a negative connotation.
Yeah, like
I feel like he hit me with some like reverse CSJ, so I could be like, wow, he really knows what he's talking about. Wow.
No, I just personally felt like at certain points he was like, I don't know, wait, what was I gonna say? I'm having a brain fart, I'm sorry. What was I gonna say? I forgot. Yikes.
Okay, so I'm just gonna wrap it up because I feel really bad for Bobby. This has gone on
Oh no, I remember what I was gonna say. Okay. I was just gonna say, like, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that he is straight. And I feel like
I'm just gonna say he is very straight. We've had like relationship talks within like the teen department, and like the language that they use is really exclusive and it's like very heteronormative. So here I'm trying.
Sorry. But I also feel like the only way for us to get more inclusion is I think we need to stop looking to. I think we need to stop expecting new behavior from the same old group of people that we've had.
I'm that same old group of
Get the straights out of here. No, I think if we really want more inclusion, we have to work. I think if we want more inclusion, we have to work from like a grassroots place of having more queer people of faith becoming pastors, becoming ministers, more women becoming pastors and ministers. And although we still have seen that, I feel like it's obviously not enough.
Yeah.
If we still have, we have these pockets of very progressive churches, but then these pools of non-progressive, very linear thinking.
Yeah, I
churches.
think that I feel this is always something that like I've always assumed in my head. I'm like, oh, but they say they're really inclusive, so I'm just gonna go with it, and I don't really need to know that. Like, I'm not, as far as I know, like I don't really need to understand that perspective just because so far, like I'm listening to just like the really general. But like when I sit down and I have this perspective of like being in CSJ and actually like having friends in the LGBT community and like me, and then like listening to what he's saying, I think that it is very possible to be more inclusive. I just think it's more of like having the conversation, whereas you're not trying to hear your voice and spew out information to recruit people, because that's a scam.
Yeah.
It's really just like about how can people feel more comfortable and
why
like
I didn't like want to wrap it up and be like, hey,
Yeah.
so anybody else want to come? Only because I feel like, at least within my journey that I'm still kind of going through as a teenager who is still trying to figure out, that whole higher power thing.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely, I don't know, I think it's definitely telling. Wait, what was I gonna say? Oh my god, I keep on brain farting. I'm so sorry. Yeah, we have to, whatever, forget it. Okay,
Okay, goodbye. This has been 40 minutes.
I remember what I was gonna say. It's really short. So I was gonna say that I think personally everybody needs to figure out on their own if they want religion to be a part of their life.
Yes.
And while
actually understanding what those beliefs are.
Yes.
If they don't feel bad. Whatever you believe is what you believe in. If
Mhm.
you want for yourself to have a better understanding, reach out to those Christian leaders or me, because I won't tell you facts that are gonna confuse you. But I don't know. Good luck to everybody. I'm sorry this has gone on for 45 minutes. God bless. We'll see you. Okay. Bye. This was Jen Whitlock, Bella Jocelyn, Bobby Lazizi.